Views expressed on this program are not those of intellectualradio.com, its subsidiaries, or sponsors. Encouraging, educating, and empowering you into action. This is Warriors Talk with your host, Lady ReShell.
Hello. Welcome to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady ReShell, where we move away from awareness towards action. It's Testimonial Monday. Our topic for today is it's time to get educated and empowered. We are live on Intellectual Radio. We just heard from the Drive at 5 with Roman. Keep it locked right here on Intellectual Radio and allow us to feed your brain. On the last episode of Warriors Talk, ReShell and I talked about the truth about long distance relationship. Go over to YouTube, type in Intellectual Radio. Stay connected for any episodes you may have missed. The quote of the day is, "Who you are tomorrow begins with what you do today." We are grateful for our sponsor. We have Emanuel C.O.G.I.C with Pastor Michael Richardson, who has a special message for us.
Greetings, I am Pastor Michael Richardson.
And I am First Lady Anastasia Richardson from the Emanuel Church of God in Christ. We're located at 3058 West Van Buren in Chicago, Illinois. We are building upon a solid foundation.
And we're inviting you to join us every Sunday morning on Facebook Live at Emanuel C.O.G.I.C at 10:15 Central Standard Time. And you can also view our videos on our YouTube channel at Emanuel C.O.G.I.C-MR. Once again, this is Pastor Michael Richardson
and First Lady Anastasia Richardson, and we're from the Emanuel Church of God in Christ. We are building upon a solid foundation.
Here are your trending topics for today. The standoff between Chicago Public Schools and the Teachers Union continues. Mayor Lori Lightfoot said Sunday evening, out of the fairness and consideration for parents who need to prepare for classes, they would be canceled this Monday. The mayor said between both sides, it persists, but the progress is not long enough. This Monday will be the fourth consecutive day that the Chicago Public Schools classes have been canceled. The news comes following the late offer by the Teachers Union proposing a start to remote learning beginning Wednesday, January 12th. Lightfoot rejected that proposal outright on Saturday afternoon, and the talks resumed Sunday. In an appearance on Meet the Press, Lightfoot spoke about the ongoing stalemate, and this is what she said. After being asked, are the kids going to be in school this week? And the mayor replied, I'm doing everything that I can to make that happen. And to be clear, the Chicago Teachers Union did an illegal walkout. They abandoned their posts, they abandoned the kids and the families. Those are your trending topics for today. If you are just tuning in on any form of social media, please like, share the show, invite somebody else in on the show so they can get this valuable information. Joining me today is my special guest. Who is she? She is a mother, wife, daughter, sister, friend, entrepreneur, author, coach, literary extraordinaire, producer, humanitarian, social activist, a mentor, a first lady, an evangelist, a speaker, and a visionary. That is just to name a few. Help me welcome back to Warriors Talk, Toneal M. Jackson. Hey, Toneal.
Hello, Miss ReShell. Thank you so much for having me back.
I am so excited about today. Happy New Year's to you.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Thank you so much. I'm excited about the show today. I think this is a perfect time for people to kick off their new year, just being educated and empowering themselves to get through the year. We have been through so much within the last 2 years with this pandemic going on, and I feel like people can use some empowerment.
Absolutely. I think they always can, but especially in times like this, because it's not just the COVID, pandemic still happening, not just Omicron, but as you were just talking about, for those of us in Chicago, this whole walkout situation has really been a mess. And there are a lot of parents that are overwhelmed, a lot of things that's going on. So yeah, we need to be empowered in times like these.
Totally agree. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Miss Lisa.
I see the listeners are coming in. Y'all get ready to be empowered. So, Toneal, I have witnessed you in those in some of those different capacities that I just read out. And the one thing that I want to ask you is, how do you find the time, first of all? And how do you find balance when you're wearing so many hats?
Oh my goodness. It's actually so ironic that you would ask this, because I was just talking to one of my girlfriends today. And one of the things for me is I am always balancing, right? Like, meaning that I am consciously looking at what it is that I'm doing to make sure that I'm in balance, because there are times when you do wear so many hats, before you know it, 24 hours in a day goes by really quickly. And so if you are not monitoring your day, and especially me, I'm naturally a workaholic. And so I could go 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours working before I realize, oh, I haven't eaten, or I haven't done this, or I haven't done that. So like for me, calendars are everything. Like I tell people this all the time. I kid you not, I'm not lying. I have a couple different phones. I work by this, I synchronize everything. So everything is in my calendar, because if it is not written, it is not happening, So like I have physical calendars, I have a desk calendar, I have a huge wall calendar, and so they all serve a purpose. So when I'm home, I can physically see everything that I have coming up at a glance. When I'm on, because I'm always on the go, so having my phones and being able to check every day, what is it that I'm doing today? So spontaneity is not my friend. I am not. I'm honestly like, you have to schedule spontaneous moments for me. So I'm like structure, spontaneity, but I definitely have to live by a schedule. I'm very structured. So that's really the only way that I personally know how to balance it all. And hello to you, Miss Kelly. That's the only way I can balance it all.
Hello, Kelly. Hello, Tracy.
Hey, Tracy.
Yes, for tuning in. Talking about, it's time to get educated and empowered.
I love that.
Yes.
Can I borrow that? Like, because I never thought to put the two together. Like, I had educated and empowered, but when you said that, I was like, ooh, that hit me different. It is time. Okay.
I love that. Educating and empowered. Especially when you have education, when you know your stuff, you feel a sense of power when you go before people. So that's really important. So I like that. So the one thing that I wanted to ask you is, what does it mean to you to be educated and empowered? And then how does that work in society today?
Oh, that's an awesome question, ReShell. If I can just give a little bit of a backstory, like, first of all, I am someone who is a huge advocate for education. Always is, always have been. I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, but when I say being educated, I don't just necessarily mean academically. I mean in life. Like, there's always things going on, and I have always been a student of life. I have always loved to be around people, specifically people that's older than me, love listening to their stories, learning from their experiences. I think that's really the best way to be successful in life, is to hear what other people have done, so that way you can gain knowledge from their experiences, right? And so for me, that's really what it means to be educated and empowered, and how this whole educated and empowered movement came to be. I was actually designing my personal website, and I had been doing it for maybe about 5 or 6 months, because it kept changing, because it really meant something to me to know how to formally introduce myself to the world. That's kind of how I was looking at this. Like, mostly everybody knew me as the book lady because of Artists Promoting Success. They knew me as being someone with leading, as a leader. But I said to myself, like, who am I? And I promise you, I feel like God took me through a journey in showing me who I was and what the common denominator. So whether it's APS, whether it's I'm glad to be a woman, you know, whatever other things in the church or even within my home, the common denominator is that I educate and empower. And so within society, there are always so many things that's going on that if you're not educated, you can't be empowered to go ahead and make a difference.
Let me just say that I had a chance to go to your website and I loved it. Like just the way that you had it set up. I learned so much more about you going to the website. And I just was like amazed, like, oh my God, like there's so many different facets to you that once you think you know somebody, but then when I went to the website, I was like, oh, okay. So, you know, I got to learn a little bit more about you. So I love the website, by the way. You did an awesome job on the website, which the website is titled what again?
It is mynameistennille.com. So they don't have to do the www. Just when you type it in the search engine, my name is TONEAL.com. And, you know, and just really quickly, again, to touch on that, I wanted to do that. I'm so glad that you actually shared that with me because people always feel that they know you, but really they only know the you that they were introduced to when they met you. So like if I was wearing my literary hat when you met me, then you would assume that all that it is to me is being an author or a publisher, right? And so it's not disrespectful that you refer to me as the book lady. It's actually, for me, it's respectful because that means that that's what I've proven myself to be to you. But for me, I just really wanted for people to know that there are multiple sides to me. And so I'm like, who better to introduce me than me?
Yes. I mean, even just like when I went to the menu, like how many people know you have done children books? Like, you know,
Yeah,
a lot of people don't know that, right? So it's so much information on there about you. Like, I love it. I was like, oh, wow, this just gives me so many ideas as it relates to like, you know, what you want to do with yourself. It's like you branded yourself right on the website. Love it. An awesome idea. Love it. Let me read some of these comments really quick. Kelly says, I need to do more of that. Not sure what she's talking about. She's probably something you said a little while ago.
Yeah.
Lisa said that a calendar is everything. It really is.
Yes.
And I know you're one of those people that journal a lot. Like journals are everything. Like I have so many journals and I tend to go back to them because I put dates on them and I go crossing things out that I have accomplished. Like they are just a lifesaver. I love them.
It's essential. And just really quickly, so, and you were part of this, I did a vision gathering party this year. And for me, even beyond the vision board, regardless of what platform that you use, it is so important to hold yourself accountable. And so that's why I am definitively a journaler. Before journaling became a thing, we used to call it keeping diaries. Like I've always believed in writing down whatever it is that's going on with you. So whether it's things that you're just using the diary as a positive outlet so that way I can express what I'm going through, or whether it's to be able to keep track of what it is that you desire to do. I just feel that journals are for me, they are so essential. If I showed you how many different types of journals or notebooks or whatever you want to call it that I got them all shapes, colors, sizes. Yes, ma'am.
Kelly said her 2021 was epic. She did a digital vision board and exceeded her expectations. Manifest. Yes, love it. I'm telling you, it's something about writing it down. When you write it down, it's some power to it. Trust me, you got to try it. You have to try it. Toneal, I was just wondering, what are some of the steps that someone can take that wants to feel educated and empowered? Like, what can we do to get in that realm?
Absolutely. So the first thing I'm gonna do is hold up my phone. It doesn't matter that it's looking at your show, but I'm holding up my phone because one of the things, and I've shared this before, all of my girls have phones. So a legitimate rule in this house is when I ask you something, you cannot tell me you don't know. If you don't know, I'm taking your phone, because there is no reason not to know. And that is actually one of the taglines to Educate and Empower on a t-shirt. It says there's no reason not to know. When we have so much immediate access to technology. I mean, whether you want to be a lazy, like finding out the lazy way, meaning you just want to go and Google it, or you want to take the extended old school way, going to the library. Like for me, there is such a realm of topics that I have no idea about, no knowledge on at all. But you would never know it, because as soon as I see something that I do not know about, first thing I do is I'm going to do a Google search on it. You see what I'm saying? And then it's just like when you watch a YouTube video. So I'll say it in that regard too. So if you're a person that does not like to read, then with YouTube, you can literally pull up a video on anything. And so one search typically leads to another search that leads to another search. And before you know it, you find yourself having research for at least 2 or 3 hours. So that is really my thing. If ever there's something that I look up and I don't know about it, I don't know about it for this moment, but I guarantee you within the next 15 minutes, I will at least know something about it.
Yes, I'm telling you, YouTube is my best friend. Anything that you want to know,
that part,
is go on YouTube. Somebody done already looked it up, researched it, broke it down for you. It's just so easy. Even just Googling stuff, like we really have no excuse to.
There is no reason not to know. Yeah, I remember real quick. This was years ago. So my truck didn't start, right? I went out to my truck. It didn't start. My husband had already left and I couldn't get a hold of him. And so I called because I knew theoretically what to do. I knew you're supposed to like jump start it. Now, how to do that, I didn't know. So I had called my goddaughter and she came over, and guess what? She didn't know either. So literally what we did was we went to YouTube and we put in how to jumpstart your car. And they literally had a video, because I had jumper cables, and they had a video that was able to walk us through it. So like 6 minutes later, the truck was started. And that's what I'm saying. Like that was an example, but it's really that simple. You don't know. So that's a good analogy. So let's use that. So right now you're dead. So if you're the truck, you're brain dead to that particular topic. Go to YouTube, go to Google, you educate yourself, and then you jumpstart your mind. So now you're able to get going.
Yes, and whenever you run out of gas, just go back on there, and I'm telling you, you can learn something every single day, free, and you won't even have a student loan once you're done learning. Trust me.
That part.
So another thing that I wanted to ask you was, what does it feel like to operate consistently and intentionally when you're walking with purpose, on purpose, and in purpose?
See, I know what you did. I know what you did there with that on, in, and with. Okay. So the best word that I can use is liberated. A lot of people say that they feel bound. And I feel that the answer to that is probably because you're not walking in purpose. I think that it's important that people understand that walking in purpose is not always the same as being a millionaire. There are a lot of people that have money that feel bound. But when you are walking in purpose, when you know that you're doing what you were purposed to do, that in and of itself is a motivator to keep it going. And that's one of the reasons that you know this, ReShell. I always tell people to know your why, because if you know why you're doing something, then 9 times out of 10, that why will never change. And so that why is going to keep you going when money is not coming in, when people are not supporting you, when projects fall through. The why, the purpose is going to keep you going. And so ultimately, I believe walking in your purpose will open up doors that can lead you to financial freedom. But for me, it feels great. I've been a full-time entrepreneur for over a decade now, and it feels incredible to be able to know that you are doing what you were purposed to do.
I totally agree with that. I do. Kelly said, hence why manifestation is so important, sis.
Absolutely.
So important.
Absolutely.
All right. So as a woman of many talents, many gifts, what advice would you give to someone who may be scared to just step out, on their passion or out of their comfort zone to do what they were purposed to do?
ReShell, in a minute, I'm going to ask you if you was on the phone when I was talking to Chelsea earlier today, because I promise you, this is almost verbatim, the exact conversation we just had. So it's even funny that you use the term talents, because this is exactly what we were talking about. So in the Bible talks about the parable of the talents, right? The one that had 1, 2, and 5. And the one that God was really disappointed with was the one that had 1, not because they only had 1, but because they didn't even try to make use of what they had, right? So to answer your question, for me, I don't think that it matters how many talents you have. I believe what's most important is that you use what you've been given. And so what you can do, I think one of the most important things to do is not compare yourself to other people. I think that is one of the most dangerous things ever, because number one, you don't know someone else's why. Number two, you don't know, like how long it took them to get where they are. You've just met them in a particular place on their journey, and you assume that they've always been there, or that circumstance has already been like that. So I think that for me, the most important thing to do is to focus on your why. Focus on whatever your talent is, whether it be 1, 2, or 5. Focus on doing the best with that. Don't worry about where you, quote unquote, measure up in the big scheme of things against someone else, because I think that will drive you crazy. And I understand, again, my master's degree is in business. So I understand about knowing what the competition is doing, this, that, and the third. However, again, it depends on whether you're kingdom and working or not, because as a kingdom builder, your only competition is yourself. You're not trying to, end somebody else and this and the third. Like, there's enough for all of us to eat. All of us are able to survive and thrive. So I don't have to put you out of business for me to do well in business. But again, I have a different mindset than, certain people. So for me, what I would tell people, regardless of the amount of talents that you have, just do well with what you have at trying to help somebody else and being authentic to who it is that you've been called to be.
Yes. I heard this saying, don't judge my story by the chapter you walked in on.
Yes.
So like you were saying, you don't know what somebody has been through. You have no idea what foundation they had to build to get to that point. So
yeah.
And we can work so well together doing so many things. We can support each other. Kelly said, excite. Do you, boo. Lisa said, life purposely as God. Is she trying to say live?
Live. I think it's live
purposely as God designed you to do. Gotcha, Lisa. And I totally agree with that. We all have our own unique talents, own unique things that you are good at. And if you will listen to people and what, like, certain people will tell you, and it'll keep coming up, the same thing will keep coming up. They'll keep saying what you're good at. And so you have to listen to that, and you have to stop and say, wait a minute, let me see if there's any truth to that, and see where that goes. You just don't know. You don't know. Tracy said, don't allow others to validate you. And we're waiting on people.
Yeah.
We're waiting.
Because here's the thing. You have to say who are they to validate you, right? Because at the end of the day, and I don't care if they are millionaires and if they've been doing it for 50 years. So it is not to take that away from them. But what my point when I pose that question is to say this: if God have called you to do it, why do you have to be validated from man or woman? Why do you have to be validated from somebody else to say, oh, this is what you should do? Well, God already told you. So what more validation do you need?
Exactly. I totally agree. We got you, Lisa. We got you. Tracy said, absolutely. Absolutely, you guys. Sometimes you just have to, if God called you and he qualified you, you don't need validation from anybody else. He's going to equip you. He's going to put people in your path that's going to be able to help bring that vision to pass.
Absolutely.
So, Toneal, one of the things I feel like you have stepped out of your comfort zone to do was the Black Man Project. Like, when you said you were doing it, and I was hearing like some of the promos that you were talking about, and I was like, oh wow, that had to be really scary and exciting at the same time, to be a woman and to bring this documentary as well as a book, with Black men, they don't really like to talk that much. So I'm just like, how did she actually get this project done? So tell us about, just stepping out of your comfort zone to do that.
Girl, this was definitively outside of my comfort zone. Everything, I got a feeling what we've been talking about for the rest of this show is all outside of my comfort zone. So that's why I can say I know that it's not Toneal, I always tell people it's a difference between a good idea and a God idea. So I know that this was a God thing and not a Toneal thing. How it came to pass, ironically enough, I was meeting with my women. We have an anthology going that's all women, and so one of the Saturdays we were kind of reciting one of the pieces that we had written, and so one of the ladies was reading something about how. Hold on 1 minute. I'm trying to get my background to be a little bit silent, but in either case, one of the women was reading a piece about what depression looks like on her husband. And so at the moment she was reading that's when I just like the Holy Ghost just kind of hit me. And I have to say it like this. So I don't know who your readers are comprised of, but the Holy Ghost just hit me like, we got to do something for men, because everything that I do is typically geared toward women. And so I just knew that we needed to do this project for men, right? And so at the moment, I didn't actually know exactly what it would be. I was thinking, well, since we're in the anthology format, it needs to be an anthology. But literally, I was texting one of my friends, and as I was texting anthology, Spirit was like, no, it's going to be a compilation. And so the difference for those who may not know, anthology is where people write their own chapters and they submit those chapters. A compilation is where you are interviewing a variety of people. And so I'm like, okay, we're gonna get started on this. So like literally this idea hit me last February. And so I wrote a list of different guys that I know, different friends that I have across the country. And I'm like, I had no clue what they were going to say. I was like, Lord, this got to be you, because I've never done anything like this. And I'm like, I ain't got nothing to give. Like, I just need y'all to like trust this vision, And so I just had to explain it to them the way that God had given it to me. And literally just about everybody I asked was like, yes, 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 yes. And so that was like awesome. And even some of the guys who ultimately will not be in it, there were people who agreed to do it, but our schedules just could never match up. And so it was just a blessing to have all of these Black men to see something in me and my vision, to want to be a part of it. And so that was just different, just in sitting down. And again, because we are in a pandemic, it's a Zoom situation. So it kind of made the process easier in a way, because I didn't have to physically go to them. And so time-wise, we just had to take a moment. But it was different because most of the time when women are talking to men, it's in the context of a relationship, right? And so just to give a little context to what this project is, this is not just what a man thinks. Matter of fact, I don't even know that we cover relationships, because that's typically when women go to men to ask for their opinions. But for me, this was more of a societal piece. This was more of trying to understand who the Black man is holistically, right? You're coming off of losing George Floyd. You constantly seeing all these things, Dante Wright, Ahmaud Arbery, and how society, obviously, this is how they see our Black men. And so wondering what it is that how does it make them feel? How are they able to cope with a variety of things, right? So I'll release this, and this is exclusive to you. Nobody really knows this yet, but it's really 7 main topics that we cover. So we deal with identity, we deal with influence, with insecurities, with pressure, depression, impact, and success. So those are really the 7 topics that we cover, and they'll be highlighted in the documentary. So it'll be kind of like an excerpt. The documentary is kind of like an excerpt, a visual excerpt of the book. But it was really, and the men, 28 men, 12 different states, and their ages range from 30 to 70. And their professions are just as different as night and day. I mean, you have some that like one of the guys, a couple of guys, PhD. I have an actual medical doctor. I mean, we have Pastor Edie was a part of the project. So I mean, we have a nice range of people. And what I felt was really just heavy hitting was that regardless of where they are in the world, regardless of how far north, west, south, or east they are, regardless of how old they are, the thing that brings them all together is the fact that they're all Black men trying to survive in America. So, yeah.
Yeah. MyLeah said our Black men need empowerment. And I totally agree with that. I'm all for anything that will get our Black men to open up and release some of that stress and the pressures that they have on them, that they feel like they have nowhere to go and nobody to talk to. So I think this project, and it's just going to be powerful. This was from before. Lisa said, God would provide provision and direction. We must walk by faith.
Absolutely.
As Tracy said, trust God. We have to be able to trust God to lead us, and whatever it is that he has, that what we're going to do is going to bring glory and honor to him.
Absolutely. And so with that project, pending that nothing else in the world happens and closes down, we are looking to go live. So we are premiering the documentary, releasing the book, doing all of it. So the name of the project is called, the book and the documentary are both called Being a Black Man is Harder Than You Think. Right. And so we are doing, I was trying to, what's the name for it? What do I want to be? So I just came up with Black Man Extravaganza. So when you come, it's not just for Black men, it's for everybody, obviously. But the hope is that you are able to learn more about Black men. For me, the whole purpose behind this, I want this to be a piece that is going to help to generate dialogue, to prayerfully get more dialogue amongst other men, with men and women, and then men and society at large. Because what I pray is that in having this conversation and being able to see men for more than just who we go to when we're talking about relationships, but actually taking the time to get to know who he is, where he came from, what his values are, how did he grow up, being able to see him holistically, prayerfully will help to strengthen our families and our communities. So for those who want to support this project, I do have something on a campaign going on Indiegogo that they can go and contribute to, or they can go to the website, mynameistennille.com. But we are looking to premiere it on Monday, February 28th here in Chicago. It'll be the premiere of the release of the book and the premiere of the documentary. And then we're going to end with a ceremony where we're honoring our men.
So I have a question. You say you have 28 men, correct?
Yes.
And is this 28 days in February?
This is that was the reason I forgot to say that, but yes.
I was like, is this something, okay.
Yes. So the point was, and I'm sorry, see, girl, this is why we need each other.
I got you.
Yeah, that was the whole thing, like wanting to give people a different spin on Black history. So that was the whole purpose of having 28 men wanting to release it in February. And again, I'll just give a disclosure that my initial thought, I wanted to release it on the 28th of February. I mean, the 1st of February, like start the month off with it. But a lot of different things was happening, was going on. One of the main issues was that it's in the middle of the week. So it's going to be hard to get people to come out because, again, keeping in mind that half of my contributors are out of state. And so the great thing is that a lot of them are actually saying that they're going to be here. And that's huge to get them to come, again, weather provided, COVID provided, that everything goes well. But yes, this was definitively a Black history piece. So the goal is that we want to change the way that our young people are looking at history. Because one of the things I've realized is that Gone are the days where schools are talking about Black history holistically. Like, really all you know about Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. But we have Black men, I mean, obviously Black people, but specifically, we have Black men every day that's doing something to make a difference, but we're not bringing attention to that. And so, these guys, like I say, these are guys I've known, some of them for lifetimes. Some of them just came into my life, but for whatever the reason that I know them, they are all people that I look at as being difference makers and change agents. And some of them were like really surprised that after hearing what the scope of the project was, they were surprised that I chose them for it. But I'm like, you don't just have to be a PhD to be a change agent. And I think that was the other reason for getting a good sample of professions, because I want to be, when all young men look at this documentary, that they see themselves. Everybody will not want to be a fireman. Everybody will not want to be a doctor or a teacher, or they will not have come from a 2-parent home. So I wanted to get a nice sample of guys that came from single parent homes, 2-parent home, like whatever your story was, so that when somebody sees this, they'll be able to identify and know that despite my situation, I can still be successful.
Was it anything that surprised you while you were doing this that you really didn't expect from the men?
I honestly didn't expect them to be as transparent as they were. The different questions that I asked, and I won't divulge who, but like a couple of them broke down, and they were like, hold on, we got stop rolling, stop the camera, because there were certain questions that hit them, and they were literally shedding tears because it made them think back on things that they hadn't been asked before, or it's been years since they've talked about certain things. And so some of those questions evoke those emotions. But honestly, I wasn't expecting them. There were 28 questions, and you guys get this in the book. There are 28 questions, 28 men. We love the number 28. Right?
I see.
And so they all were asked the same question, or same questions. And to me, there are so many questions where the answers don't really vary. And I thought that they would have, whether it was because of their age or because of where they're located. But to know that there are certain issues that you just can't escape just because you're Black. For me, that was really kind of eye-opening. But yeah, I wasn't expecting them to, even though I asked them to be transparent, everybody is not just so transparent. But they all were, very open and honest. And I think that this project is going to be the better for it.
Wow. If you are just tuning in, Warriors Talk is live on Intellectual Radio with my special guest, Toneal M. Jackson. And we're talking about get empowered and educated, you guys. And she has already just dropped some gems. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to find out what office is Toneal getting ready to run from. So let's hear a word from my sponsor.
If you're looking for an affordable book editor, then look no further. I'm MyLeah Symone. I'm a freelance book editor, and I offer affordable book editing services such as proofreading and manuscript critiques. It's time to work with an editor who knows and loves stories. Head over to my website, www.myleahsymone.com, to book me today.
All right, grateful for my sponsor. I know you're proud of her. I know you are.
I am.
I know. Okay, we are back with Toneal M. Jackson. Again, we're talking about getting educated and empowered. Tracy said commonality among Black men is the same across the board. Yeah, I know. We just need them to talk more. We need to be able to, and when they do talk, we have to make sure that, we are not shutting them down and running back, telling their business to where that they don't want to open up to us. So we have to make sure we keep that in mind.
Asking the right questions too, because again, most of the time, if we're honest, and I know we're going to a different segment, but if we're honest, a lot of times when you listen to women, and I don't mean you, I mean just in me thinking, I'm like, mostly every time I've seen a woman invite a man to a panel, it's typically talk about relationships. And it's like, but he has so much more to offer than that. But it's like, well, we don't really need you. We don't need to know about what you think about this is it. Just how do we get men to be interested in us? You know what I'm saying? And so I think even they were happy to be able to give something, to offer something more than just relationship advice. So yeah.
I totally agree. So before we went to break, we left off with Toneal running for office. So I found out that Toneal is running for the commissioner of the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, and she has been endorsed by the Green Party. All right. Now, where did this idea come from? To run as commissioner? I'm like, wait a minute. Because when I read all of the different things, like, well, it's a variety of things. So I can't say that wouldn't fit in there because it's a variety of things. So I was just like, oh my God. So tell us, like, where did this opportunity come from?
No, I ain't gonna tell you because I don't know. I'm so serious. Like when I say that sometimes there are things that, again, God ideas and God appointments. And if I'm being 100% honest, I don't even think I know that this is a God thing. This was not, it's just like when I woke up that morning, when I had the idea to write the book, this was God that said, you need to write the book. This is the name of the book. This was going to be called. And that one book ended up turning into a whole literary conglomerate, right? Mm-hmm. This is one of those things. I was not thinking anything about politics, like I genuinely love the Green Party. Okay. Since coming into the knowledge of the Green Party, and I'll tell you guys more about that in a minute, like since coming to the knowledge of the Green Party, it has really been great for me personally because I was very ignorant to them. I only knew about blue and red, Democrats, Republicans. As many of us, as I've learned, many of us do. People don't even know that there is a such thing as a Green Party. And so upon doing research, being educated and empowered, I learned not just about the Green Party, but I learned about their core values. And I found that their values heavily align with my own. Some of the top being social justice and, feminism and gender and racial equity and, grassroots democracy and decentralization. Like all of these are my own personal values. So to know that there was a political party who basically subscribed to my same way of thinking, for me, it was a no-brainer to go green. And so like from the moment that I joined the party, people were asking me, well, what are you running for? When are you running? No, she don't run. She don't, I don't even in real life, I jog or walk. I don't run, so like we ain't running for nothing. Right. And so literally what happened was this past November, the president of the Cook County Party reached out to me and was like, I heard you might be interested in running for MWRD. I said, where you hear that from? And so I said, but let's just say that I was interested. What would that look like? And literally, that's how that conversation went. We had a conversation. I started to educate myself more about the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, about what it would mean to be a commissioner, about what the impact is. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I could do this. So yeah, so now you look up and she's running. So
so do you feel like because I know you're probably going to be interviewed by other people asking you, why do you feel that you're qualified to run?
Mm-hmm. So for me, I feel like that some of it is going to come with knowing the history of MWRD. So there are 9 commissioners that's on the board. Of those 9, you have 3 6-year term seats that's that's available. There'll be 3 people running for 6 years. And then there's a 2-year term, which is what I'm running for. So Deborah Shore, who had been a part of MWRD for a very long time, was just recently appointed by President Biden to do this office, another office, a regional office. And so her term, her remaining 2 years became available. So I feel like for me that you want to get some new blood in there. You want to get some people who actually are concerned about educating the public as well, right? So it's not just all politics. It's not just all, because a lot of times when people think politics, they think scandal, they think all of that. But being able to come in and give it a new look, number one, somebody that is willing to learn, to work for the people. And for me, if I'm nothing else, a servant of the people, I believe that I have proved myself to be time and time again. And so I know that I am a great organizer. I know that I am great with people. I know that I'm a great leader. And so I believe that those things qualify me, whereas I may not have an MBA and MWRD. I think that is something that you can learn more about what it means to be a commissioner. So I have been attending their board meetings to learn about the inner workings. And a lot of people, when they hear Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, they're thinking that it's about, like lead in your pipes, and it has nothing to do with that. That's the water company. But the MWRD does not just deal with what goes on with our water at large, like the Chicago River and things like that at large. They also deal with a lot of financial matters, and making sure that budgets are intact and different things like that. So if nothing else, I know that I would be able to educate people personally on what it is that we do, so people would know what it is that they're voting for and how things can change for them individually. So that's what I feel like I bring to the table.
So that would be the impact that you would make, would be educating people about, what it is, what's going on. Because a lot of people may not know, like you said, when all you hear is water, you're like, oh, okay, this is what they do.
Yeah.
But I think it's good to have somebody actually break that information down so that we would know what's going on.
Absolutely. Because a lot of times we don't do things because we don't know about them. And a lot of times we don't know about them because they're not in layman's terms, because it's in a section of the newspaper that you never read, or it comes on an hour of the news that you never watch. And so for me, even everything that I've done to this point has really been about doing that. Whether you're talking about the literary world or even politically, I take what may seem overwhelming for some people, and I break it down where everybody understands it. Because to me, I believe once you educate someone, then now they can truly make informed decisions. And so that's really what I want to do, is kind of get people to truly understand, what does the MWRD do? What should they be doing for me? And how can that impact what it is I'm doing? Because like, you have people, especially in the suburbs, that have different issues with like stormwater, like floods in their basements, with things like that. And they don't necessarily even know who they can consult or what they can do or how these different things. I mean, and again, there are other issues, environmental issues, climate change, so there are certain issues that we are, working toward and want to improve. But again, being a candidate for the 2-year office, what I tell people, and I just try to be very honest, like, I'm not going to promise you the sun, the moon, and the stars. I'm not going to say that I can change 12 things in 2 years, because we have to also be realistic. And we know that time goes by very fast. So like for me, I'm a person that would rather tell you that these are the 1 or 2 issues that I'm going to focus on making change while I'm in office, and try to over deliver and not tell you I'm going to make all of these promises, I'm going to do all of this, and then under deliver. I would rather tell you, hey, these are the 1 or 2 issues I'm going to focus on, and at best work on those. And then greater than that, if I can over deliver, that's awesome. But I don't want to do something and not be able to, meet what it is that I'm putting out there.
Have you thought about those 1 or 2 issues, or some type of initiative or vision that you have for the office if elected?
Absolutely. And it's so even still hearing if elected, like using that term is still, I have to like really embrace that. But one of the things that we were talking about that needs to be changed is like, even when you talk about things like gardening, there are a lot of people who plant their own food. Now, we encourage people all the time to be sure to plant your own food, right? But the fertilizer that's being used, like if in the ground there are poisons and different things like that, then the food that you're planting is going to come up poison. So just trying to work on some type of solution for that. For me, that is definitely a huge issue, because with me having children that's in school, and we're trying to be more health conscious. You're trying to, everybody everywhere is pushing organic, growing your own. So you need to make sure that the soil that they're planting in is not going to be something that's going to make us sick.
Yes, I love that. So Toneal, give everybody some words of wisdom about it's time to get educated and empowered.
Oh my goodness. So there are so many things going on. First of all, I will take it as a brand and then wrap it up as a message. So with educated and empowered, it's a lot that is encompassed in that. It is its own brand. We are going to be launching our own TV network very soon. If we don't do it within the month of February for Black History Month, we're going to do it in the month of March for Women's History Month, because our tagline is changing the way you see history. And so it's very important to me that we do that. The network will be featured on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple and Android TV, as well as we'll have an app on iPhones and Androids. So you'll be able to access our content wherever, however you stream your content. So you have that's a part of Educated and Empowered. We have a podcast that's called Educated and Empowered. So for people that may not be able to sit down and watch TV, you can take us on the go. So whether it's through Anchor or Spotify or Apple and Google Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Overcast, like all the major streaming devices, you'll be able, or streaming platforms, you can take the podcast on the go. And then we have a product line. So you can go to IamEducatedandEmpowered.com, where we have t-shirts and sweatshirts and joggers and leggings and masks, like so many different things. So if you want to join that media movement, that's really what's offered there. And then we have the professional network that's encompassed under it, which is APS, which is what mostly everybody knows about. And then the social network we have, which is I'm Glad to Be a Woman. And so no matter what it is that you do in life, and I think that this is the point, no matter what you're doing, you need to be educated, whether you're working a job, whether you're within your own home, whether you are doing something within ministry, you need to be educated, and you need to first be able to be empowered so that you can go out and empower others. And so for me, again, regardless of what the vein is, my whole goal is to be able to educate and empower others to be the best versions of themselves.
Awesome. Really quickly, Toneal, how can they vote for you as commissioner?
Absolutely. So what we're going to be doing starting this Thursday, if you live in Cook County, so it is important to understand that this is not a Chicago thing. If you live in Cook County, and to my knowledge, Cook County goes back as far south as Matson, which is the 200s, all the way north, Evanston, Maywood, Bellwood, Country Club Hill. So there are a lot of different suburbs that's also included. If you live in Cook County from January 13th through March 7th, we are going to be collecting signatures. So step one is we need to get my name on the ballot. So we are looking for at least 2,400 signatures. So that in the big scheme of things, 2,400 signatures does not seem like a lot, but we have 8 weeks to get 2,400 signatures. So if there is anyone who wants to volunteer to help gather signatures, please reach out to me, connect with me on social media, and let me know. But that is really the first step, is getting these signatures. And then after that, June 28th is the primary election. I am the only person that is running for this office in the Green Party. So therefore I will not be contested there. But then the general election will happen November 8th. And so at that point, also understand that even if you are a diehard Democrat or you're really radical with being a Republican, you can still vote green for this one particular category and not, be untrue to whatever your other party is. So the first step, though, is we need signatures. So I need your signature. I am going to be put at least once a week. I will have a place where people can come and meet me to sign the ballots, but I will be actually out with my team. We will be going to canvass door to door starting January 13th.
Awesome. So make sure you count me in. So thank you so much, Toneal. I trust that listeners have been educated and empowered. Join me next Monday right here on Intellectual Radio. I'll leave you with these words of wisdom. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. As always, thank you for tuning in to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady ReShell, where we are changing lives one warrior at a time.
Thank you for listening to this week's edition of Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell. To find out more about Warriors Talk, follow at Warriors Talk, the number 1, on all social media outlets, and Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell on YouTube. Please join us next week and every Monday evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on intellectualradio.com for Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell, where we encourage, educate, and empower you into action.